Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby. We've got Jake, and we've got another league, another rugby league to talk about. It was breaking news today. Well, obviously, you're seeing this in the next morning. So, breaking news yesterday about a breakaway league. Jake, but before we get into that, you know what time it is. Give us that saucy little fitness update that we sit and listen so nicely to every single week.
Yeah, it's stagnated a bit.
It stagnated a bit. It only started like a week ago because it stagnated when we started it a month ago.
Well, I tried to do my first 10K and then I only got 7K through. And then I got back to like my lowest, and then I went out on Saturday night and had loads of drink. I met Nelson Mandela's grandson, which is pretty cool. He's a cool guy. But there we go. That was it, really. And yeah, I'm now back to like my lowest, but I'm not like losing weight now. I'm just setting stat.
Just listen to the state of it. I'm back to my lowest. Bro, I am so disappointed. The people tune in, week out, not to hear us talk about rugby, but to hear about your fitness updates. And you're just disappointing all of us.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, viewers. I'll do better.
Yeah. Anyway.
How are you?
By the way, it just looks like the two of us, but we've got Jimmy in the studio. And he's just like sending messages in the private chat of like discussions because he was going to join us, but his Wi-Fi is dog shit. So, yeah. Jake, what did you ask how I'm doing?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Fine. Pretty fun. We started up Saphas Unscripted again. Yes. And it's, if you haven't realized, like I'm not editing on that one anymore. That's just Frosty. It looks a lot cleaner and stuff. Putting in some effort, bro. Yeah. It's exciting times to be back. But obviously, it was a dreadful weekend for my URC team. And we're not going to talk about the URC, so I'm not going to go on my rant once again. Just know the fetal position was taken up. And there was a bit of tears that was shed. Needed a cuddle, and there was no one there. Was there alcohol? If there was alcohol, there was going to be way too much. So no, there was no alcohol involved. Friday night.
That's quite rare for you.
Yeah, it's probably because I had to go and work on Saturday morning. That's why. Yeah, one of those things. Anyway, people, we're going to chat about the Club World Cup, or the breakaway tournament that we heard about from Mike Tyndall. But if you do like just fans coming together, talking about shit when it comes to rugby, this is the place to be. So please remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Go to Jake's Instagram, go to his TikTok, go follow him, go show him some love and support there. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Jake, is my screen a bit glitchy?
No, you're good.
Okay, all good. Anyway, Jake, take us away. Talk to us. What does this tournament mean? What do they want to achieve?
Well, how it's structured. So, like, they've announced they want to do a 12-team tournament. I think it's going to start off in the first year with 8 men's teams and 4 women's teams. This is going to be in 2026. So, what they want to do is do these 8 men's teams playing, I think, in like 14 different rounds and cities. It will be between April and June, slight gap for summer fixtures, and then August and September. And they want to take these 8 teams, eventually going to 12 men's teams. I don't know if they have like home cities or home continents or whatever, but they want to play in venues like Tottenham, the new camp in Barcelona, LA, New York, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo has been mentioned, I think Cape Town.
And these will be teams consisting of players from all across the world, right?
They want to get the top 300 players in the men's and women's games. So probably just taking players from all the current leagues we've got and put them into one sort of super league.
But this is by no means confirmed. But I have seen there's a couple of people that have like signed early agreements on it already, like some players. Yeah. And the whole point of it is to kind of fall outside of the international window, but it still catches a bit of the rugby championship.
Yes. So I don't know. Apparently, I'm not sure if it's true. I heard the phrase like a couple of dozen, but then that could be like 25 players out of 300. So it's not. I don't know how many there are, but it won't clash with Six Nations or Summer Internationals, but it might clash with the Rugby Championship. But you don't know if the Rugby Championship
Which
is
is
going to be
bigger?
a thing still, huh?
Which is bigger? The Rugby Championship is bigger than the Six Nations, and you will clash with that.
That'd be ridiculous. But they've been talking about like making the Rugby Championship every 2 years and doing these New Zealand, South Africa tests. So we don't even know if that's going to be every year. You know?
Yeah, the Rugby Championship will always keep going, if I'm not mistaken. They would just adjust it a bit, and I think they would add, for instance, Fiji and Samoa, so it will kind of end up being like a Six Nations instead of playing each other twice. The thing is, I don't want to change the Rugby Championship, but I would do anything for a full-on like All Blacks tour to South Africa or us touring there. It's just the two greatest teams to grace this earth playing against each other that many times. Anyway, sorry, we're going off topic. I want to hear your opinion. Does rugby need this breakaway tournament? Like for the South African teams to add that to the already 12-month calendar that we're playing rugby would be like a bit crazy, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it needs this sort of franchising thing. I think, personally, I believe if you do this, you'll just sort of isolate, or not, what's the word? I don't know what word I mean, but you'll just put off all the traditional fans in every single tier 1 country. Like, this is a threat to every single league. This is a threat to the top 14, Premiership, URC, Super Rugby, and I just don't see how it will work.
I don't think it really is. I don't where I don't see this working, in my opinion, is rugby is different than for instance football, where it's got that aura of you can go anywhere and anyone will come and watch, right? Rugby is like, I'm born here, I'm raised here, that's the team that I'm supporting. For instance, like the Stormers and stuff. Like, we want to see the Stormers. I don't want to see a bunch of barbarian teams going out there and playing all across the world. We don't go for the players, you go for your team. That's the way that I see it, right? I just can't see where if I see random guys coming here that I would want to go and watch watch them playing. I want to see my team. You get what I mean?
That was kind of my point. But yeah, I know. Like, people, like, there's history in all these clubs in you know, whether it be like Western Province, now it's the Stormers, and then, you know, Saracens. It's 150 years of Saracens next year, and like, you're going to take down all these competitions and make these clubs not the top tier. I don't see it working with just 12 teams. Like, because they want to get all the rugby fans in the world just into one competition. But
what would, for instance, let's say Newcastle Falcons and stuff do during that time?
Well, it's just like,
because if it's missing the international winner, it means it's part of the franchise season. That's going to test the squad depth and stuff. You're taking out all the big players out of the franchise leagues where they play at home, for instance. Like, let's say the Stormers play, and you take out a Damian Willemse, Sasha Feinberg, and Gomezulu, whatever, right? You take out the stars in that team because they're playing over there. But you've got the URC going on in here, and it's like, well, we want to see our stars play for our team, but now they're playing off in fucking America. Why would anyone support that? Why would anyone support that? Rugby's not like that. That's like the football equivalent to that Super League that they wanted to start. That's the vibe that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, it's just like the best players aren't going to be playing, you know, in these sort of traditional clubs. Will be new franchises, and I don't know. They just expect people to go to other clubs and watch, you know, lesser players, which is fine because some of the top clubs aren't always the best. But it just feels like these new teams are it's just not traditional. It's not organic. I know, like, that's sometimes a good thing, but I just can't see it working. I can't see, they want to like a 7-style system and play in Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo, and I just don't see them getting the crowds to make it work.
I get growing the game. Truly, I get trying to grow the game. Like, we all know rugby needs a bit of growing. I'm not on the same wavelength as people that's saying rugby's in a crisis. I think rugby's doing a lot better now than it did a few years ago. I think rugby's in a good spot, and of course, there's more opportunity for growth. I want to ask you this, because I'm all for the Rugby World Cup, the Club World Cup, that idea where the North and the South meet. I think that's a brilliant idea in terms of growing the game. We always have this debate of who's the best between the North and the South, and obviously it's not going to settle the debate, because whether you're playing in the north or the south, that will obviously have an influence on it. But you can take those games and you can play that in, for instance, Buenos Aires. You can play that in Barcelona. You can take that to Dubai, for instance. That would be absolutely brilliant for the neutral to watch, right? Everyone's going to clock in on their TV and watch it anyway, right? So then you can expand the game like that. That's a much better idea than kind of having a monopoly of the 300 best players, taking all of them away from the franchises, right? Taking money off of those franchises and sticking them into this one thing that only goes for, 4 months?
Yeah. Well,
what's your thoughts on the Club World Cup? Because I can't remember us having a discussion around that.
I think it's ultimately, it can be an exciting thing, but I think the way they've structured it, I think there are too many Super Rugby teams. I think 6 Super Rugby teams out of 11 compared to like 8 sort of, URC Prem top 14 teams out of 40. It just feels like there's too many Super Rugby ones.
Yeah, but they just split it with hemispheres. That's kind of what they had to do. So
Not
6
really.
from
you might get 0 South African ones in there.
Yeah, at the moment. Obviously, yeah, it doesn't feel right, but if you had to just split it, there's different ways to split it, but if you go on the split, there would be none of us, because of the Heineken Cup. And obviously, like, the Super Rugby would have to be seen as the Heineken Cup of the South, because it's the big one there. And then where's the other 2 teams coming from again? One from Japan?
Japan. I feel like a much more sensible way, if you actually want to grow club rugby and rugby around the world, would be the top 2 from the Prem, top 2 from France, Japan, Super Rugby, URC. So that's 10. And then if you're serious about growing the game, do the top 2 from Super Rugby Americas, which is South America, MLR, and then like 2 invitational ones, if you want to do like an African one or Georgian team. I like that would be the best way. And then it's a realistic route for every single country and the best club in their country to get to and play other continents' best teams.
Yeah, the only issue with getting more teams involved is that it'll be a longer tournament. I don't think they're trying to.
16. It's 16 either way that way.
Oh, okay. My bad. My calculations were off drastically there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, it's an interesting talking point, because we all know rugby needs the growth. Like, we spoke about it last week in terms of rugby needs characters, rugby needs this and that and that.
And you're right about this Club World Cup. You could host it in Argentina or USA or Spain or wherever you want. And also they got that new Nations Championship coming every like 2 years or whatever, or every 4 years. So that's another thing you can also do in another country.
No, there's great innovation in rugby at the moment. Like, in terms of some of the ideas really aren't bad ideas. I think this breakaway thing is a bad idea. Like, it could be a money maker, right? Like, obviously, it all depends on the execution of it. But my worry is just what it does to the normal franchise leagues. And I feel franchises or club rugby is in the best spot that it's been in years. You look at the URC, the involvement in it. Even the simplest example is, look at our content that we create, like short form content, right? If we made these type of videos a few years ago, we would never be getting the engagement and those type of things that we got, because there wasn't enough people interested in all of that. But now we make the post. You've got banter that's alive. You've got the teams fired up. You see a lot more argy-bargy players playing for the jersey and those type of things. If club rugby wasn't on fire, you wouldn't see all these South African guys coming back to South Africa to play for the South African clubs, for instance, right? Yeah. That just tells you how good of a spot even the South African teams are in. Like, I can only speak from the personal experience with that. That's why I'm referencing that. But club rugby's in a good spot. Try and expand club rugby that's in a good spot now at the moment even more, because this move, it just feels like it's going to take away so much of the momentum that it's got at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the South Africa, like the Bulls and what's your team called? The Stormers, getting like huge crowds.
Don't start. Don't.
No, the Stormers get like really, really big crowds, and then the French league, everyone knows how well that's doing compared to other leagues. And the Premiership is like a record attendance per game last year. Leinster sending out 80,000 at Croke Park. It just feels like stuff's building, and we just need to give it a bit more time, a bit more like modernization. It's happening. I feel like it is happening. You just need to be patient. This is not going to be like a 2-year process. This is a 10, 20-year process. It's happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, obviously, we're in the business end of the tournaments now. We're going into international season again. That builds up the hype for next season's URC and Prem and those type of things, right? Like, everyone's going to have an eye on, for instance, Andre Pollard, because he's going back to the Bulls now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're alive and well for that one. I saw on the URC Twitter, as soon as the quarterfinals were announced, like a few weeks back, people already begged for next season stuff because people already want to get those season tickets and get out there to support their teams. They're already excited for the next season. That's a good sign. It's a great sign. I want to ask you something a bit off topic. We spoke about growing the game, and we spoke about the Club World Cup and those type of things. Do you have any other ideas that just pop into mind in terms of how you would want to grow the game in an ideal world?
I mean, a European-centric one would be I did a video on Spanish club rugby, make the winners of their league go into the Challenge Cup, and the same with Portugal and Germany, and these markets you want to target, maybe another Italian team who aren't in URC. I feel like South Africa are playing Argentina in Twickenham, and you played Wales in Twickenham last year and New Zealand the year before. It's like, why don't you do those games in Brazil or, I don't know, India? You want to really grow the game.
It's obviously because of the money and the ticket sales there at Twickenham.
I know it's the money and the ticket sales, but if you want to grow the game, do those games in different countries, and make England. I think every tier 1 country should have to play a tier 2 team twice a year. So England plays Chile and then Belgium. That's what I think they should do, or at least use their England A games more. There's an England A game against Spain, which should be good, I think.
It's always the money though, right? Like, we could easily say we want to see a different form of a World Cup where you see the tier 2 nations fighting it out, or you want to see a promotion and relegation. But then you just think, is it feasible? Is rugby in the spot where they can afford something like that?
I don't see how this new R360. It's called R360. This new league. It sounds like a bloody old Xbox make. Like, what is hell is R360? But how is this R360 going to attract more fans to a game in Sao Paulo in Brazil than the All Blacks versus Argentina?
No, fair, very fair point. Very, very fair point. I think there's this mindset of like, rugby doesn't have the superstars that football necessarily has. Where if you take a football team, let's say like Arsenal, you take them anywhere, bring them into South Africa, you'll have millions of supporters, right? You'll stack out that stadium. Rugby's not that. It unfortunately, it's not that big of a sport to compete on that level. Where if you just throw each other, throw guys together and you put them in a team, you're not going to sell out easily because teams want to support their team. I'll tell you now, if you just selected 2 random Barbarians teams and put them and play them in Cape Town, they would not get close to the amount of support that the Stormers would get, right? Especially if you don't have South African guys playing in there.
Yeah.
Because that would be the case. Right, they wouldn't be selecting all the South African guys, because same with the All Blacks guys, because they're playing during the Rugby Championship season. You think the Springboks are going to let their guys go? No, because international rugby is different than football. It's the pinnacle of the sport, and it always will be.
I feel like this group. I think it's backed by like F1 owners and NFL owners, so it has like some money. I feel like they think, if you put a great team in some of these new countries, they're going to have the fans will just go. And like, what's stopping them is that they don't have great teams to go watch. But I just feel like there's not actually enough fans there yet for you to do that. And I don't know. I don't see how it's
rugby's on the come up. It's on the come up, and you have to exploit the markets that you're currently in. Right? To take it outside now will kill the market that you're in, and it won't explode there. That's the whole point of it. You need a market that's already alive that can kind of just sort itself out. If you take international games and you can play it there, as you mentioned, that's fine, right? Like, whether you for or against, let's say, a Rugby World Cup in Qatar or Saudi Arabia or wherever, right? Whether you're for it or against it, that would be a good money move. It will generate a lot of money. People from Saudi or Qatar would go out and they would go and watch it. People would pay money to fly from here to go there because that is a massive thing. That is massive, not a club thing. So
Yeah.
that's the way to approach it. If you want to experiment, go with the international game. Obviously, we would love to see our international teams play out here. We're even being extorted for our prices, by the way, of the tickets. But yeah, do it on the international scene because that is obviously massive. But we're still trying to grow the franchise game. You look at the Lions, right? They still need to get the crowd back in the stadium. What do you think
Yeah.
is a random team's going to do there? No, we want to grow the Lions. So imagine taking all the Lions' best players, putting them somewhere else, and now their 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people that they get out there becomes 300, 400, 500.
I've been looking at NFL takes games abroad, and they've been targeting London, and I'm looking like when they first did it, and it was 2007, and I feel like it's been 18 years they've been knocking at the door. It's not something you do overnight. It's 18 years. You go back to the same place. If you want to win these new cities, like the All Blacks are playing Ireland in Chicago. That's great. And if you want to do that in America, you've got to do that consistently. Don't just do a new league and destroy everything that has built up over 150 years in rugby.
And rugby doesn't have the money like NFL where they can keep going, keep trying. Like obviously it's worked now, right? But if you take the franchise team's money and tell them go and play in fucking New York, bro, they'll literally get less eyes on it than the MLR gets.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the MLR. I haven't been able to watch it, but I love the idea of it. I love the idea of growing rugby in America. I think that would be great, right? So focus on growing the MLR there. Focus on growing a franchise league in Georgia and in Spain and those type of things. Focus on that. Focus on their local leagues. Grow the local market. And then all of a sudden, then you maybe try and expand. You got to generate money from all over before you just like push money into that because that's going to
I think this expanded World Cup will help get some new teams in. I mean, this pretty much guarantees USA, Spain, Canada into it. That's what they're trying to
good
do.
because that's obviously the markets that they've been vocal about in terms of getting to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and you're going to get good games between some of the top teams of them. I mean, they might get flogged, but again, as I said, Chile got smashed in the last World Cup against England, and now they get record crowds. They get record crowds now. So
yeah, exactly. And just they might get smashed, right? But all that they need is one moment. Look at what it did for Portugal in the previous World Cup. I mean, the emotion. Look at the welcome that they got when they got home.
Yeah,
that was even more than our welcome when we got home. That just tells you. That just tells you what it means, right? So all that they need is that one moment. It's a breakthrough, and there you go from there. I'm excited to see what rugby can bring, but I don't want to be disrespectful to this idea. Like obviously, I respect any ideas in terms of trying to grow the game, but this was not it for me. Like I've seen it now, I've heard it, I understand enough about it. I would say, but it's just not gonna work. It's just not gonna fly. On the extended World Cup, sorry, I'm keep on flipping around here. You're fully for it, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm fully for
it. So, no, but I'm trying to think. Like we've mentioned before, let's say like a tier 2 World Cup. So you leaving that one, we just extend the one that we're currently at.
Yeah, extend it to
imagine. What about like a World Cup, but it's kind of like for the sevens, where the teams that kind of dropped out as you expected, they continue to play in their own little like playoffs for like a plate or something like that.
I mean,
like so one big World Cup, but then it forms into two of like the tier 1, obviously taking over. So you're continuing with that one, and then let's say, okay, well, Portugal, they got blitzed by, let's say, England, New Zealand were in their pool, and Scotland, right? Like they were in the pool of death, so they got smoked there. But then they get the opportunity to play against the teams that placed in 3rd and 4th, for instance, in another pool, and they try and fight it out for a plate. That makes them the top of the tier 2, and they can battle out to get into tier 1 rugby. That's wow, off the cuff idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, have heard other people say it, but so I'm sorry.
Well, I haven't. So even if they had, it's not
Yeah.
plagiarism.
Yeah, we're playing for the casual bias plate now. But yeah, I think it could work. Yeah, I think it depends on like the crowds you get. I feel like if you did it as part of like the World Cup, it could work. Maybe, yeah.
Double headers every day.
Yeah. I still think
So that's like that would be like your warm up for the main game, let's say later on in the evening.
Yeah, maybe. They also said, by the way, a lot of the this R360 thing they want to do is like more events and make it like concerts before, and it's just like,
oh my word,
you're not going to get rugby fans. You just get people going for the vibe. Like they'll go once and then
right? They're gonna get a Beyonce halftime performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's the one thing. Like, I don't want to disrespect the NFL because obviously they are money making machine. It's a very successful sport in America and stuff. But I can only speak from our perspective as South Africans. Obviously, you get people that like the NFL, but it's just seen as like this commercial juggernaut. And I don't want a halftime show of an hour long where I just see an artist perform. I want to watch the rugby. That's the whole point of it.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
You're not going to win the right kind of fans. You're not going to get people who are going to go and watch the next. Like, if you get someone in New York, they're not going to go and watch a game then in Paris because they're there for the event and not the actual sport. You need to actually market the sport, the game itself.
Will rugby have enough money to get some of these A-listers?
I don't know. These F1 and NFL backers seem to have enough money. And Mike Tyndall, he's got a bit of money.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, I don't want to have a crowd filled of people like, get these fucking rugby guys off the field. We're not here. We want to see Rihanna performing. Like, that's going to be terrible for our sport, right? Yeah. Like, imagine watching a rugby game because rugby is the one thing built on passion.
Yeah.
Imagine you watch a rugby game, there's no passion.
Yeah, it's got to be like in Wales. Oh God.
No, dude, no. It makes me nauseous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but you already know if they see it as feasible with the money. Scary thought is.
I think they said they could do like 40 players to get £1 million or more. So, I think we've got like 10 in the world currently to get like $1 million. So,
well, the players don't need the money; the clubs need the money.
Well, yeah, but the players are the ones who are ultimately going to jump ship and go to this new league. So, if they put all this money into the current system, it'd probably work a lot better. But I don't know why they don't do that.
Exactly, yeah. I saw they have the mastermind of Live Golf involved in it. And it's like, well, why don't you literally just buy a franchise team?
It's just
and make it like the Newcastle or the Man City, where you just pump your money into it and buy the best players, and all of a sudden give that place some hope.
Golf and what's the other one? F1. They're not like actual teams from a certain town or city. Like, it's just completely different. And an IPL is just. It's a franchise league, but ultimately it's a domestic league in one country where that sport's the biggest sport in the country. Like, it's just basically the top 14. If rugby it's just I don't understand.
Yeah, but the thing is, like with the franchise leagues and stuff, it's not purely. Let's say if they buy Exeter Chiefs, this league, right? They buy Exeter Chiefs. It's not like they can't sign players from abroad. You can still sign some of the best players in the world and just add them to the Exeter Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, why not just do that? Why are you trying to take away from all the rest?
I don't know. I guess. I don't know. Ultimately, if you had 8 teams, and the idea is because it's 12 teams, you can just get like fans from all the tier 1 rugby countries will invest into this one league. But I just don't think that's what rugby fans are watching rugby for.
Do you reckon it can work in the women's game because they've got 4 women's teams as well?
No. I think the PWR, the league in England, is doing very well right now. I don't see how they're going to recreate that even better with a global one. Honestly, I don't.
Maybe with the women's one, doing that, but playing it in a country that just needs a bit more of the women's rugby side support. Like, there's crowds coming out to the South African ones, but not nearly big enough, I would say. Let's say if they did that, but they didn't travel to Buenos Aires or wherever,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
They just came, they played all the games in the South African provinces to
Mm.
grow the game here. And then next season, they do the exact same teams, for instance, a couple of transfers or whatever, and then they try and go and play that in New Zealand. It's pretty big, right? So let's say they take it to Ireland or just a couple of like the European countries. Don't you think that would be a bit better of an idea?
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm just trying to think because the women's game in South Africa hasn't necessarily exploded. Like it's getting good support in terms of internationally of what I've seen, but not necessarily on the franchise level that you want. Not it's not close to the Prem, like
No.
the Premiership women. That
Yeah.
it's actually admirable how well it's doing there. It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't
Are we
know.
wrapping it up?
No, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. I don't know if I said it on a recent video on this channel, but the thing which will grow rugby a lot, at least in Europe, is a Euros. I mean, they've filled the calendar up so much. There's no bloody room for anything now. But I honestly believe that would be the best way to expose it to new rugby playing countries. Is a bigger Euros tournament, which if every tier one team took it seriously, yes, you see a few ones.
What do you mean by the Euros tournament for the people that haven't seen it?
Like a football Euros, a rugby Euros, top 16 in Europe, you could probably just about get away with. I mean, you will see some big results, but if you host it,
the schedule
Spain
is
or
obviously
Germany,
the tough thing because you've got the um, World Cup every 4 years, British and Irish Lions every 4 years as well. But they let's say with those two already, it's every 2 years.
yeah,
With the new international rugby,
Nations
like long,
Championship, and then a Club
yeah,
World Cup.
yes, with that involved, I just struggle to see how you fit that in.
We're both like some of the biggest rugby fans out there, and I'm struggling to keep up with all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep getting confused as well with the new Nations Cup and those type of things. Like I'll remember every detail about it and then forget it, and then remember it again and then forget it. It's just too much to consume at the moment. But it's tough to kind of keep track of it because of like next year there's a tour of New Zealand to South Africa, so you're kind of focusing on that and where that plays. So the rugby championship hasn't adjusted to it yet. We'll probably get more used to it as the tournament goes on, as you read more about it, as you're actually seeing it playing out. Yeah. Anyway,
Why can't I just leave things as it is and just grow the game? just let things, just let the clubs advertise themselves, get it into schools, and it'll grow. Just do better. I
yeah,
would say though, people are really negative, and like I don't know about South African ones, but like English club rugby attendances have doubled from where they were 23 years ago. Like it's not something that happens overnight. Just make sure it doubles again over the next 23. Like
yeah. Well, that's obviously what they're trying to do. Like I get it. As businessmen and stuff, they're always looking for some innovation, but some of these ideas are well, okay. Let's just focus on what's in front of you first before we keep doing that. Because just adding more and more tournaments is not the play. Like rugby isn't football where you can play 2 or 3 games a week. Like you see some of these teams and you look at the big squads that have, you can't do that with the contact sport of rugby. Like the guys will never survive if they have to play 2 games a week. That would be crazy. Like the calendars and the schedule's already so heaped. The only thing that you can do is adjust what's in front of you. I think the schedule and stuff is fine, right? Like how the Six Nations work, the URC and those type of things. But if you want to do something else or you want to grow the game, just rather try and tweak what's already there to make it fit a bit better. That would be my thing, instead of just adding something totally new. Unless it's this Club World Cup where everyone has decided, okay, we're gonna adjust our seasons and those type of things, then it's fine, right?
yeah.
But like taking everyone's best players during the time that they need them the most, no. During April, May, business end of the season.
Yeah. I said if they play for these franchises, they will not play in the URC at all, or the Premiership. Like in the months in between, they're done.
Kindly, they can fuck right off.
I mean,
like if this comes into fruition, I want, like, for instance, Rassi to say, if you play in that, you don't represent your local franchises and stuff, then you're not getting picked for the Springboks.
Will unions just say, like, we're working with the clubs, if you go, you're not allowed? But then if loads go, would they have to change their mind? I don't know.
No, because there would still be enough, well, from us, there would still be enough talent to get into. The Springboks are the pride and joy of the country. So yeah, if you want to do that money move, or just get someone else, for instance. But imagine, let's say Chesney Colby, let's say our best Springboks go to that team. Others have to play in the URC. How are you going to, because our guys in the URC won't be matched up with the best. So how are you going to see what the actual potential is? How are you going to see what the actual talent is that's going on there? Well, the other 300 best players are playing in something totally different, in a monopoly just there for themselves.
I don't know.
Anyway, we'll wrap it up. People, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Go to Jake's personal profiles. Go show him some love and support there. We do appreciate all of you guys, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.